We're back. We are back. We are back. I need to figure out how to fade that out more elegantly, but whatever. Who cares?
Fade it out elegantly.
Yeah.
That's what we're about.
Do some, we call it ducking. We need to do something like that.
You need to do some shucky ducky quack quack?
Something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently he even has a lower third now for shucky ducky quack quack.
He's had that for a while. Yeah, he's had the shucky ducky quack quack graphic for a minute now. Actually, the first time he got the graphic, I marked out hard. I remember right where I was, sitting on my buddy Andy's couch.
Ian and Nick, did either of you write this music? No, we did not. No, we did not.
I wish.
We spent the better part of a day mining the interwebs for just the right thing that identified with both Ian and myself. And when we both heard that one, it was like, yep.
That's the one.
That's it. And here we are almost 3 years later. So, all right, let's kick this thing into gear, as we always do, with our good friends over at Blueberry.
This episode of the Busted Wide Open podcast is brought to you by Blueberry. Blueberry offers the best media hosting, accurate listening stats, and their all-new PowerPress Deluxe sites, a no-setup WordPress website for your podcast with all the necessary links to share your show with the world built right in. If you currently produce a podcast and are looking for a better media host or looking to start a new one from scratch, head over to orbitaljigsaw.com/BWO and sign up for the best media hosting and a PowerPress Deluxe site to get your first month absolutely free. That's orbitaljigsaw.com/BWO, or just use the promo code BWO at checkout for your first month free. And with that said, enjoy the show.
This is the Limitless Keith Lee, and I'm here to ask you to stop what you're doing, take just one moment, and bask in the glory of the Busted Wide Open podcast. Mwah.
You're listening to the Busted Wide Open podcast, dropping the elbow on the hottest topics in sports entertainment and the world of professional wrestling. With your hosts, Nick Howell and Sir Ian Dangerous. Coming to you from the Orbital Jigsaw Network Arena in sunny Southern California.
Welcome back to the Busted Wide Open podcast. But if this is your first time joining the show, I'd like to welcome you to episode number 164. My name is Nick Howell.
And looking like how I sound, unlike Tyson Fury, who looks like an ogre and sounds like a hobbit, I am Sir Ian Dangerous. And welcome to this Tuesday night show. Nick, this is our new format. We do 2 shows a week, more with we do a mailbag show now every week. We do a pay-per-view recap show if need be, which we just finished doing Hell in a Cell. Oh God, Hell in a Cell. Oh, the trauma. But here we are. We're back with our weekly show. We're going to recap Raw. We're going to talk a little bit about New Japan. We got some news and notes to talk about. There's some things to go over, man. We had some fallout from Hell in a Cell. We're getting ready for the draft on Friday on Smackdown. There were some things that happened on Raw that I really got to bitch about, Nick.
Yep.
You know I hate bitching.
We really don't, but we love giving that constructive feedback, which happens quite a bit over in our Facebook discussion group. Just come over to Facebook, search for Busted Wide Open, like the page, and send us a join request to get into the group. It's where all the fun action happens, as well as our Discord server, which you definitely want to be in. Link to the description down below for those of you watching on YouTube. Anybody else listening on the podcast can find it pinned to our social media profiles. Certainly want to get in there. That's where all the live chats happened. Very spoiler-friendly environment with separate channels for every show, so you don't get spoiled unless you want to. But come be a part of those. They happen live during all of the weekly shows throughout the week, as well as dedicated channels for any pay-per-views across all of the wrestling landscape. You can find us on Twitter and Instagram at BWO Podcast. Podcasting right here live on YouTube at youtube.com/BustedWideOpen every Tuesday at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 Pacific, and every Saturday at 3 p.m. Eastern, noon Pacific. 2 shows. We listened. You guys asked. We listened. We're delivering anywhere from 2, 3, or 4 shows a week for you, starting in this new era, and we aligned it perfectly with this launch that took off last week and consumed the world of professional wrestling. You now have up to 4 episodes of Busted Wide Open every single week. Good Lord, there's a lot of wrestling stuff going on right now around the internet. But Ian, we're here tonight to talk about Monday Night Raw specifically. We did have Hell in a Cell, like you said, but we're not just going to talk about Raw and the fallout from Hell in a Cell. We've got a bunch of other stuff to talk about.
Exactly, and I can't wait to get into it. But before we do get into it, Nick, we need to discuss Monday Night Raw.
Well, this week on Raw, it was a little bit of an awkward show because of the impending draft that's coming and has been announced over the course of the last week. This Friday on Smackdown on Fox, so we needed to set that up a little bit or maybe tie some ribbons on things as we came out of that Hell in a Cell event into Monday Night Raw. So we had a superstar showcase.
Yeah, it was basically, it's tough to watch WWE when they really don't have any kind of propulsion, and it's really hard for them to get going when they're going to be shifting everyone around and starting new feuds and doing all kinds of crazy stuff, and they don't even know what they're going to do on Friday. So on this show, we had really very little actually happen except for, I would say, setting up some gimmick matches or I'm not sure what you would want to call it, but basically just some showcase matches for like Crown Jewel and stuff like that. There wasn't a whole lot of forward momentum on the show, and a lot of it really felt to me like WWE had taken a big old fart in the arena at Hell in a Cell, and they were trying to wave their hands to make us stop smelling it. And some of the times they helped it dissipate, and some of the times it just made it smell even worse. Yeah. So that's the best way that I can metaphorically describe the Raw this week, this superstar showcase. It was kind of disjointed. Like they just would start segments like in the middle of the segment, and the announcers didn't they would get caught by a commercial mid-sentence. Part of that's probably because it's a new announce team, but it was still like it just felt it's kind of underwhelming. I don't know what Bakersfield did to deserve this show, but WWE, if they did not bring their A game this week.
No, they did not. No, they did not.
So Nick, let's not waste any time. Let's get right into the main angle on the show. And that is Tyson Fury and Braun Strowman. So obviously last week on SmackDown.
Oh, that's not what I thought you were going to say.
Oh, where'd you think I was going?
Lashley, Lana, and Rusev.
No, I can't do that right away, Nick. You have to let me build up to that.
Okay.
Let me build up to that.
Because they jumped straight into it.
They jumped straight into that, and I was not ready. I was not ready. I think they were just trying to shock us out of thinking about because we're all sitting here on the couch watching the show going, all right, what you going to do about that Hell in a Cell finish? And they were like, Lana and Lashley, but we're not going to get into that right away. I got to start with Tyson Fury and Braun Strowman.
Okay.
Because this is really a thing. Like we were wondering about it last Friday on SmackDown. We'd heard rumors that it was a thing. It's a thing. This is a match that's going to happen at Crown Jewel, and they built for it this week. Tyson Fury showed up at the arena with his wife and 18 kids, and we're looking for an apology from Braun Strowman because Braun Strowman threw Dolph Ziggler at him during SmackDown last week, and Tyson Fury didn't like that because he's a horrible human being, which he genuinely is. And so they got into a tussle. Braun Strowman said if he might get an apology if he asks nicely. If he doesn't, he's going to get these hands. And they had a conversation in the ring, and things went about as well as you'd imagine. And we've never seen this happen before in WWE history, Nick, but there was a pull-apart brawl.
Oh, imagine that.
Yeah, can you imagine
what did they think was going to happen?
Tyson and Braun laid waste to a whole sea of security guards after security guards were demolished by both of their phantom punches. Out came the entire mid-card roster from the back to try to hold them apart, which didn't happen. Multiple, it was a charge, and then they were getting held back. Charge, getting held back. We've seen this so many times in WWE. Happened again. The bright spot was Braun Strowman at one point went to the back, got interviewed, and cut a sick promo saying, Tyson Fury wants to come into my house. I'm going to kick his ass, essentially. And then he went back out to kick his ass again. That was how the show went off the air. How do I start this? Nick, I want to get into how I feel about Tyson Fury in a little bit, but let's start with the surface level stuff here. How do you feel about Braun Strowman being used in a special attraction match with Tyson Fury in this way? And how did both of these guys play their parts? How well did they play their parts? How well did they sell this special attraction match with all of this business?
The only thing I've got to compare this to is the time that Austin and Mike Tyson were in the ring together.
Except that was Mike Tyson as a referee. I think this is closer to, and I'm sorry to interrupt, but this is closer
physicality.
but this is closer to Big Show having the boxing match, right?
Fine. I'll grant you that one.
Like Big Show and Mayweather. The only difference being that Tyson Fury is Braun's size.
Am I excited that this is how they're using Braun Strowman? No, but it could be worse. Braun couldn't have anything to do. There's plenty of superstars that are back there. Boy, I wish I could have been doing that stuff with Tyson Fury. So at the same time, I'm going, would we rather have Braun that brings some legitimacy, or like a Titus O'Neil going, because they're about the same size? It could be worse, right? At least Braun's somewhat charismatic. That backstage promo he gave after the initial physicality, I felt was more of a tantrum.
It was great. It was exciting. It was intense.
There was so much passion and fire in his voice, though. I can't be mad at it. And then just storms right back out to the ring, and they go back at it again, and that's how Raw ends. And I'm just like, okay, well, what do I expect out of this? Are we going to get some kind of special attraction showcase match, as you labeled it? Is this going to be Tyson Fury at WrestleMania versus Braun Strowman?
No.
Is this how I want my Braun to be used? No, I want him in title contentions. I want him at the top of the WWE.
Right.
This is not what I want Braun Strowman being used for.
#MaWrestling.
By God.
That's the problem. This is how they see Braun Strowman. Special attraction. He's the guy that's going to be, winning tag team titles with the Kid. He's the guy that's going to be facing off against Saturday Night Live guys. That's what he is being built to be.
He's the guy that's going to win the Raw Tag Championships with a 12-year-old.
Right. Exactly. Greatest Royal Rumble. Yeah, sure. Whatever. Give it to the big guy. My only worry is the end game for this, because if you remember, Big Show had to lay down for Mayweather. Right. It's the only way they could attract Tyson Fury, because they said, oh yeah, we'll let you get a win over our guy. And here's the other thing is, you gave these guys the main event slot on this show. Once again, an outside person who is a legit fighter is now being placed as being more important and at a higher level than the people in your own company. And if you're wondering why, a lot of these WWE superstars can't be taken seriously, look at this, because you present them as being not as impressive as, if Braun loses this, especially, right? We've already got Cain Velasquez and Brock Lesnar making everyone else look like idiots and goons on one side of this, and now you're bringing in another guy who's probably going to beat Braun Strowman, and it's just making your the rest of your roster look like jokes to the rest of the sporting world. So, yeah, it's to me, this has been Vince for 40 years. That's all the way back to Mr. T at WrestleMania, the rock and roll, rock and wrestling connection, right? He's obsessed with mainstream success and mainstream stars, and the danger about bringing in shoot fighters is that it undermines your guys who are here doing performances, simulated fighting. So, yeah, I'm not entirely on with it. And my other problem is I can't stand Tyson Fury as a human being. And if you don't know about Tyson Fury, he's controversial, and he's a tough figure to really to wrap your head around unless you know his history. The guy is obviously a fantastic fighter, but he's also just a miserable bastard. And he's been open about his mental issues. He's had mental health issues. He's dealt with suicide. He's been very open about it. And there are things about that should be commended, where he's been open about his struggle through that. But he's also never really come out to apologize for some of the horrible things that he's said in the press and stood behind, to the point where people will ask him about those things he said, and he says, I don't want to talk about that. So he's never really addressed it. And I know we're in the middle of cancel culture right now, and I don't want to jump on that bandwagon, but just so that people know what they're dealing with here with Tyson Fury, I want to give a couple of quotes of things that he said in the press and has never really addressed since. Quote, "Everyone just do what you can, listen to the government, follow everybody like sheep, be brainwashed by all the Zionist Jewish people who own all the banks, all the papers, all the TV stations, be brainwashed by them all." That's one quote. In the build-up to his 2015 fight with Klitschko, he said that homosexuality is like pedophilia. He says he believes that the legalization of homosexuality and abortion are two of the three things that need to be accomplished before the devil comes home. Let's see. In 2013, he said he would hang his sister if he felt she was being promiscuous. And he said that he believes a quote, a woman's best place is in the kitchen and on her back. That's a 2013 quote from Tyson Fury. Yeah. So, and this is a guy who was gone from boxing for 31 months because of he used anabolic. It was a nandrolone. It was an anabolic steroid. So, before anyone starts getting excited about this match, just keep in mind that this guy is the guy that's fighting Braun Strowman in Saudi Arabia. So, yeah, my excitement for this match is at an all-time low.
Okay, okay, what you just said is important. All of it was important for context, but what you just said there really just made a light bulb go off. All of this is set up because somebody on the other side of the world probably paid $10 million to have the heavyweight boxing champ come over and do
absolutely
an attraction match.
Sure. And it's not like Tyson Fury has much else going on right now. Like, he's trying to get back in boxing shape, but the guy at one point weighed 400 pounds. And his steroid use indicates that, he's not, I don't know if this guy's ever going to get back into boxing. This, to me, smells of a publicity stunt for him as well, if that makes sense.
Bakersfield?
No,
like
in Saudi Arabia. In Saudi
Arabia.
Okay.
What
they're building for with him.
Like, those of us that live in or have lived in Southern California know what a sort of desolate place Bakersfield is out in the middle of nowhere. And sorry for those of you that live in Bakersfield, but you'd probably agree with me, wouldn't you? It's nothing more than a racetrack and a Motel 6 there along the 5. So at the end of the day...
And it wasn't Merle Haggard who was born there. Who was born there?
I don't remember.
Someone like that.
Point is, you traipsed his entire family and all 27 of his kids to Bakersfield, which was like a 3-hour drive probably in an Uber from LAX.
Well, that's the thing. He was in LA for Smackdown.
Right.
Bakersfield is an hour and a half up the road, so not too bad.
Anyway, my point. So I did not know any of that stuff that you rattled off. I'm not familiar with Tyson Fury at all. I had not really. I don't keep up with boxing or the PBA in general since Mike Tyson. So I mean, since the 90s. So I was not aware of him or his transgressions. I'm not happy with it. I was not excited about this match, and now I almost don't even want to ever say his name again. That's where because I have zero tolerance for a lot of that stuff you just rattled off. So
yeah.
Anywho, the fact that Braun is now mixed, my beloved Braun Strowman is now mixed up in that, infuriates me a little bit.
Yeah.
Even more so than I was describing earlier.
Again, I don't want to give into cancel culture and like everyone go out there, research Tyson Fury, make up your own opinion. I'm presenting a side that the WWE isn't going to give to you. And, if you just look at his boxing career, his last match ended in a draw recently. And honestly, I think he should have won it. But at the same time, yeah, he's a very controversial character. Before you start really being entertained by this angle, go find out who Tyson Fury really is, because there's a lot more to him than just the, kind of like from Yorkshire, and I'm here with my family, and I'm just I'm a huge man, but I have this strange sort of light little voice, and he seems like he's a nice guy. He smiles a lot. This is publicity. Like, go find out who he really is.
Our champion Andy Jessup would correct you and say that he's actually from Manchester, which is part of Lancashire.
Manchester, excuse me, Lancashire.
Yes. Not Yorkshire.
Oh, from up north. Yeah, I built another castle. That one sank in a swamp too, as well. Yeah. All right. Sorry. From Manchester. He's a Mank. Thank you, Andy. I am terrible when it comes to figuring out what British accents are from where. But the north. I always know the north.
The north remembers.
The north remembers. All right. So that's that. That's Tyson Fury and Braun. Now, Nick. Now I think I'm lubed up and I'm ready to accept once more what happened with Rusev this week. We began this week with Rusev in the ring awaiting a match with Randy Orton. But instead of Randy Orton came out and then what we had Rusev in the ring, and then the Raw title showed, and we come back and Corbin and Randy are attacking Rusev. In the middle of the attack, Rusev's left alone in the ring, and all of a sudden up on the Tron, Bobby Lashley shows up in Rusev's robe, in Rusev's house, climbing into Rusev's bed. And who else should climb into Rusev's bed?
Rusev's wife.
Oh God. Rusev's wife, Lana. who proceeds to kind of half remove her bra. I like how they kept it somewhat PG when she took off her robe. Like Lashley kind of covered her with the blanket, and like nothing was really shown, but boy was it uncomfortable. Just skin crawling.
I cannot believe this was on my wrestling show in 2019.
You're the one who loves the soap opera stuff, buddy. Here you go.
Hey, believe me, I like the soap opera stuff. This is a little bit too General Hospital for me. All right, this is a little bit too over the line. This is some shit going back to like 2004, 2005 stuff we all look down upon. Edge and Lita, I'm looking at you. I
love that. I'm sorry, I have to stop here because Yorkshire Rob in our chat just told me not to get Yorkshire and Lancashire mixed up because they had like 100 years.
There was a war. Yeah,
there was a war.
yeah.
Good point.
Yeah.
Good point. Oh my goodness.
Sorry, Yorkshire Rob.
Sorry.
My
bad.
best mate's from Leeds from what it's worth. I still can't understand what his mom says to me.
I'm going to get myself in a lot of trouble by saying up Manchester United. But anyway, let's move on quickly, Nick, before I get burned by half of our English constituency here. All right, so yeah, I can't believe this was on my TV either. Like in 2019, we're doing a cuck angle. Not only one, but this is the second cuck angle currently active in WWE. And in
it's
some
not the
ways,
first one for Rusev.
No, it's the second time. It's the second time. This one's, I think, way more extreme. So there's a couple things I want to address about this. One, this ended with Corbin and Randy Orton doing what they did last week when this went down and giggling outside the ring at it. Rusev getting furious, and I loved this, jumping outside of the ring and laying waste to Orton and Corbin, beating them pillar to post, absolutely annihilating, screaming, how dare you laugh at me? Who's laughing now? And then he storms off up the ramp. Okay, so looking at that, is this angle good for Rusev? Because they're making him look strong and he's getting motivated by it. He's looking like, he just wiped out two major guys after this. So they're obviously, they're thinking like, we're going to book him strong. So could this be good for Rusev, his character? Or is this really bad in the long term? Because how do you ever, like, even with the short-term memory that we have in WWE, Rusev and Lana are a real life. They're married in real life. How do you ever present them together on TV again? After this,
arguably that was the best thing ever was when they first debuted, and she was the ravishing Russian. She was his manager. So they have just screwed this whole thing up over something that is so 15 years ago, and we've all been so high on Rusev for the longest time, and we've all wanted him to get that one push, that one opportunity, and we thought they were going to do it, and then they screwed it up with the Shinsuke pairing, and then they went away for a long time. And I was so excited to see Rusev come back all cut up and just lean, porn stash, all kinds of stuff, new look, and the crowd popped like crazy when he came out. And now we're doing this.
Yep.
I was done with... For the record, I was done with Raw this week in the first 30 seconds.
Oh, really?
Like, there was no intro. There was nobody coming out to the ring to give a speech, to talk about Hell in a Cell, talk about the draft, talk about anything coming up or anything. Nope, straight into this.
Whoop. I got to say, I think they were just trying to keep things moving as fast as possible. Like, little sleight of hand, like, look at this hand. Don't think about what you saw last night. Ha-ta-ta-ta-ta. Again, I'm sitting here going, all right, could this end up working out well for Rusev? I'm trying to find the silver lining here.
Is there a good old redemption angle where he gets his lady back and all that kind of,
I don't know. This is horrifying to me, and I need it to stop. I'm with you. I can't stand this angle. I don't know why we're having another cuck angle. Someone loves the cucking. Vince, knock it off. Or Paul. It could be either one. Either one of them could be doing this, or they could just be back in the back like a couple of schoolboys in a locker room going, yeah, she's look at her, she's in bed. She's taking off her bra. So I can't wait for it to be over and give Rusev an actual goddamn push. Yeah. Speaking of actual pushes, the Kabuki Warriors had a match against Becky Lynch and Charlotte Flair. We had a nice Miz TV segment where Becky and Charlotte, the two women's champs, had another face-off. Those two are they're money together. Every time they're money. Look at like throwing barbs at each other. Oh yeah, I've had the belt 10 times. Oh yeah, it's the belt I made relevant. Oh yeah, well I made you popular in the first place. Going back and forth. Beautiful stuff. And just as they're getting a little heated, out come the Kabuki Warriors, and we're having an all-women's champions match, which is an interesting concept. They could have probably built it up more as to what it was. It was like, hey, we're going to have a match with all of our women's champions, but they didn't. It just kind of happened. But this is interesting because Becky Lynch and Charlotte have shown they're a really good team if they can stay on the same page. And they stayed on the same page, but they were not ready for the green mist. And I'll be damned, Nick, but Becky ate a green mist and got rolled up and pinned by Kairi Sane. Becky Lynch has not been pinned since Asuka pinned her back at the Royal Rumble. Wow. What are your thoughts on this whole thing? It looks like, it's from everything we're seeing online, Becky and Asuka are headed for a feud. How do you do that with Asuka and a tag team? Is that the right decision to have Asuka and Becky? And what's happening next for Charlotte?
Charlotte's going to Smackdown with the women's SmackDown Women's Championship. That's a given. That's an inevitability at this point. What happens to Becky and Asuka, that's a little more interesting to me. We've seen that feud. I wouldn't be mad at seeing it again. And frankly, I'm happy that seeing Asuka at all, plus a heel turn, plus green mist. It's all plus, because we just haven't seen her in 6 months other than this Kabuki shit. So I'm very excited right now about what is going on around Asuka. There's a lot of changes happening. I don't know how they get out of the tag team thing. Do they drop them back to the Iconics? Is that how, once Peyton comes back from whatever she's been off doing?
They've been gone so long, they should call them the Biconics. Bye. Oh, Biconics. Bye. I haven't seen them. How do you drop it to a team that hasn't even been around?
That's true.
They need to get the belts off of Asuka and Kairi, split them up.
How the Bliss and Cross dropped it to the Kabuki Warriors, who hadn't been around in a month?
Yeah, but they're the Kabuki Warriors. They're a stronger team than the Iconics, who never won a match they didn't cheat on. So, yeah, I agree. But here's the thing. I've wanted to see Asuka and Becky for a while now. For my opinion, Asuka Becky should have happened a while ago. And Becky mentioned it finally. Is like, you know what? The only real loss I've had is losing to Asuka at the Rumble, and it bugs me. And I'm like, good, yes. Come on, bring that back. We've been waiting for most of the year to hear you address this.
Here's the one thing I'll say about this as well that's another big positive for me, another plus. They came out to the ramp and interrupting Becky and Charlotte on Miz TV and did nothing but scream at them in Japanese. Who's been saying they wanted to see that for the longest time?
Yeah. And the audience was going, what, but only a little bit, because it was very captivating to have them. And I wish I spoke better Japanese. I caught about half of what they were saying. But it was enough to know that it was really fun. And it played. And then they ran down to the ring, and it because of the energy in their dialogue when they're allowed to just speak Japanese, the energy is there, and it raised the energy in the room. And so they ran down to the ring, and it was fire. So yeah, I loved that. When they came out with mics, I'm like, really? They're going to get some mic time? Nothing but Japanese? Awesome.
When Asuka gets her R's rolling like that,
yeah.
Oh my, holy shit!
And I worry that we're going to do too much green mist, like keep it for special occasions, but at the same time, I just mark out like crazy for green mist.
Is there such a thing as too much?
It's WWE, Nick. If anyone can overexpose something, it's this business.
It's Vince McMahon. Yes.
Woo, boy. So yes, keep it in your pants, Vince. Let her just do it every once in a while.
Fair enough.
Moving on, Nick, your team, the Viking Raiders, had a match with Bob Ziegler. Sorry, War Machine. The Viking War Raider Machine experience. Had a match with Ziegler and Rude. What are we calling them?
Rudolph.
Yeah, they beat him clean as a whistle. Beat the crap out of him. They're getting a match for the Raw tag titles next Monday. How is that possible if we're having the draft on Friday? How are we... What? Logic? WWE Logic? Hashtag? No?
Don't care.
Okay.
Get those belts off of Rude and Ziggler. ASAP. You Viking have an Warriors. Active tag team division right now circling the Viking Raiders, the OC, and just all kinds of stuff going on. The Rude and Ziggler are the anomaly here. As I said last week, they're the ones that stand out like a sore thumb. Get them out of there. You got to drop those titles.
I split them up, draft them wherever the heck you want.
Yes.
I agree with you. But at the same time, I don't know if they're going to, because they went over so hard this week. I don't know. I'm worried, Nick. I'm worried. But yeah, at the same time, fingers crossed. Fingers crossed. At least the Viking Raiders are coming out looking strong. They had a nice, strong promo backstage, even though it did end with them both going. But fingers crossed.
That was fantastic. I love that promo backstage.
The other, of course you did. Of course you did. Your final form is Hanson. Sorry, Ivar, whatever they're calling him.
Ivar.
Yeah, that's you when your power level is over 9,000.
Extraordinary beard, that man.
Extraordinary. Yeah, big boy. Natalia versus Lacey Evans. Again, last woman standing. Right after the Rusev cuck bit. The first hour of the show, Nick, I'll agree. It was tough. It was tough. They gave them so much time to work, and I hate last man standing matches to begin with. And then when you have one that's questionably worked, it's even worse. They did have some nice, interesting spots in this. They had some very some innovative stuff where like she trapped Natty in the chair, and then knocked her over, and Natty couldn't get up. But
sorry, Dog Ziggler. I didn't mean to offend you by saying you should drop the title.
Off. He's pissed off about this match. He didn't like it either. I agree, Dog Ziggler. Nothing gets him more fired up than a bad last man standing match, last woman standing match.
Right.
But this did end with Natty getting tossed off of the new skateboard ramp back of the Raw set.
Yeah, she went up it and came back down.
Slid back twice. Yeah. And bounced. She got put down the announce table. King's crown got knocked off the place. King was clutching for his notes, and then finally, Natty turned around a move and got Lacey powerbombed off the stage onto a table to finally pick up the win.
Here's my big problem with this.
Are we done with this now?
No, well, hang on. Here's my big problem with this. Just like the pre-show match at Hell in a Cell, Lacey Evans put in all the work. She led that entire match at Hell in a Cell, and then at the end, Natty flipped it on her, did a sharpshooter 1-2, tapped out. Right. Almost immediately. Whether or not she got knocked out, we can still speculate, but whatever. This match, exact same thing. Lacey Evans carried this entire effing match, the whole thing, and then somehow Natty got her in a powerbomb, couldn't find where to drop her, and you could see Lacey giving her directions because Natty couldn't see over her leg, and powerbombed her and gets counted out. Why is Natty getting all this push, if you call it that?
Look again at this. What was I saying about the Hell in a Cell match where this was Lacey learning how to work a match, right? She's working with Natty, learning how to work a match. That's all this was again too, right? Yeah. Letting her get work the whole match, and then Natty will turn around and she'll win it. So
now, he is not happy that I said they had to drop the tag belts, is he?
He's just not happy that we were talking about a last woman standing match between he had to watch the damn thing too.
Oh, poor thing.
Poor Dogs. I know.
I'm sorry, Dog
miserable.
Ziggler.
He's miserable.
Oh God.
You're not going to like this anymore, Dog Ziggler. We're going to talk about Aleister Black next.
Oh God.
Aleister Black cut another one of his promos backstage where he was looking for anyone to pick a fight with him. And then we cut back to him later. He's got his shirt off in his little weird room with the colored lights. And he's like, I know this works. No one's going to come pick a fight with me. So I'm just going to go to the ring and wait for people. Or I'm just going to pick a fight with somebody. Great. Glad your character's evolving here because I can't stand these bits.
Right.
And then we see the Bollywood Boys finally show up from 205 Live, the Singh brothers. And Aleister basically just murders them. So here's what I have to ask you, Nick. Obviously here, they love Aleister Black because they're putting him in a position where he's getting squash matches. He's looking like $1 million out there in the ring. Do you think his cool factor is salvageable with the way that they're botching his entrance every time and with these horrible promos in the back? Like, are they able to salvage him at this point?
No, and it doesn't appear they're attempting to.
You don't think having him squash them and look really cool doing it is an attempt to salvage him?
No, because it gives zero credibility, right? At the end of the day, he needs to be out there whipping legit dudes' ass, I don't think, or I don't count the Bollywood Boys, the Singh brothers, whatever you want to refer to them as that at all. Have him go out and have a match with a legit contender.
But this is how they do that.
This is how they former NXT champion, for God's sake.
Viking Raiders were the NXT tag champs, and they were squashing guys for 2 months and not doing anything. than waiting for this opportunity that they have right now. That's how they do this.
Months.
Right. And just because they don't Vince has something in his craw where he thinks that it's cool to have Alistair sit there and, talk about fighting people and then going out to the ring, like instead of having him just be a silent killer, doesn't mean that they don't think highly of him. I think that they're presenting him in a way where they have big plans for him. They just don't know how to make him cool because Vince gets it in his head that he knows what cool is and he's wrong.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's really all it is.
It is what it is at this point. Until they do something different, I'm kind of checked out of Aleister Black, unfortunately. And it really pains me to say that because his entrance, his presence, you guys have been listening long enough, you know how high I was on just him coming up in the right way, and they've just completely bungled it. And I've lost hope until they show me they know how to fix it and do something differently. So that's all I'll say about that one.
Yeah, agreed. Okay, well,
go ahead.
A couple more things on Raw, and then we'll move on. With the OC had a match at the Lucha House Party. It was basically just a showcase match. We know what that means. It was just kind of there to have the OC get a win back, and have the Lucha House Party bounce all over the place and look good. We had Rey Mysterio, who cut a promo saying that the only guy that Brock legitimately fears is Cain Velasquez, and the Cain is actually Dominic's godfather, and that's why he's here to avenge Dominic. You wanted it to be Sin Cara, instead you got Cain Velasquez. So sorry, Nick, your booking was so close.
That's not what I wrote at all. Damn it.
I'm sorry, buddy. Like they heard you and they upped it by one.
Thanks.
It's like, I'm sorry, Nick. No, Sin Cara is not a big enough name outside of WWE. Cain Velasquez is, so we're going to go get him instead. So close. And he might come out in a mask. Might even be Sin Cara's mask, Nick. Your prediction could come true. But this was actually a nice promo by Rey. I like this a lot. Very curious to see what they do with this. Ricochet had a quote-unquote showcase match against Apollo Crews where he beat him. Okay, cool. AOP cut a promo. It was basically the same thing they've been doing the last couple of weeks. Just, hey, remember us. We're going to get drafted. And then finally, that major angle on Hell in a Cell, Seth and The Fiend. They had a quick little video package about it, Nick, and they couldn't have any sound on it after that sledgehammer hit because there was no way they could have any sound. Like, they couldn't use any of the sound from that whole pay-per-view from that point on.
We were curious. We were trying to listen in to see if we could hear, because they play those video packages on the Tron as well when you go to live events. So I think in the live chat watching this, we were trying to listen to see if that where were they on Raw? I can't remember. If the audience there was booing the package and chanting AEW and things like that. But I wasn't able to hear anything myself.
I think they probably muted that crowd. They were really careful about that reaction. Someone I guess talked to Vince and was like, "Hey Vince, no, it really did
Bakersfield,
suck."
That's right. Yeah.
It really did suck, Vince. The biggest pop on this show was for Becky Lynch. Like, Bakersfield loved them some Becky Lynch. They were dead for a lot of the show, but Becky Lynch they were hyped for. And that women's match, I think, was the best thing about this Raw.
Yeah.
Not surprisingly, you've got 4 of the best workers in the company in that match. I could watch
Ricochet and Apollo Crews wrestle for an hour. But I mean,
true.
It was quick and over in 5 minutes. You know,
right? Oh, it was sad. OC Lucha House Party was pretty good too, but just had no stakes because again, showcase. They needed to build up. They needed to have the announce team build up that this is meaningful. They're trying to show off. This is something I'm going to get to a little bit later in the show. And that's to do with how they're going to do the draft. But I'm going to hold off about talking about that right now because I think that's relevant more for that than next. Nick, let's move over and talk about New Japan real quick here. New Japan's Road to King of Pro Wrestling is going on, and I think this is worth talking about. Normally, I would just, kind of blow it off and be like, we'll talk about King of Pro Wrestling when it comes around. But something happened this week I think we need to address, specifically in light of what happened at Hell in a Cell. And that is that during the last Road to King of Pro Wrestling show, Minoru and Suzuki and Jushin Thunder Liger, as I've mentioned earlier, have been having a feud for a while, like most of the year on and off. And Suzuki finally got under Liger's skin to the point where Liger revealed his evil alter ego, Kishin Liger, and tried to kill Minoru Suzuki with a spike. This week, it did not get any better. Jushin and Minoru got into it in this show. It was very vicious, beating each other all over the place to the point where Jushin Thunder Liger got himself disqualified, beat up the ref, grabbed the microphone, and essentially said, "I'm going to kill you." straight up, not wrestling match. He said, everyone needs to back off. One of us is probably going to die at King of Pro Wrestling.
And of all people that would be in for that, Minoru Suzuki.
Absolutely.
I can't wait to see this.
This is going to be absolutely insane. These two guys going hard, like they genuinely want to kill each other. My favorite part about this is Will Ospreay tweeting it afterwards. It'll still probably end in a DQ.
Yeah.
But probably won't end in a DQ, rather.
They won't make it to the end. Even if it does, Suzuki's just going to go get a chair and try to kill Liger. You know,
or a spike might come out. My kind of point here, just bringing this up, is it's all in the present. It's all in how you build it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I'm very curious to see how they do this, where this is a grudge match to the point where they're talking about literally killing each other. How do they present this and have a finish and not disappoint people who are here to watch a vicious match?
Yeah.
So curious about that. King of Pro Wrestling is coming up.
That's what I'm signing up for.
Yeah, I'm very curious. The 14th, so next week, we're getting King of Pro Wrestling, Suzuki versus Liger to the death, apparently. Ospreay versus El Phantasmo for the junior heavyweight title. John Moxley versus Juice Robinson for the U.S. title. That's a no DQ match as well. So stay out of there, WWE. No DQing in that match. Ibushi versus Evil for Ibushi's Wrestle Kingdom main event contract. And the main event, Okada versus Sonata for the heavyweight title. That's a beautiful card right there. And that's not even including the undercard with all the tag matches. That is going to be a hell of a show. That's beautiful. I can't wait to go over that. Not next Monday, but the Saturday after that, I guess we're going to be talking about it. So, coming up this week, Nick. Coming up this week, Wednesday, AEW will be from the Agganis Arena in Boston, Ontario. What? Wait, Boston. From Boston, Massachusetts on TNT. That's what I get for writing in all caps. Boston on TNT. Good Lord. Jimmy Havoc versus Darby Allin. The winner's going to get a title shot at Chris Jericho. Interesting.
Okay, explain that one to me a little bit. How do two guys that have never won get a title shot?
That's a really good question. I really don't know. I don't know how they explain that. I'm going to have to watch some of their YouTube stuff.
Aren't wins and losses supposed to matter in AEW?
Right. Where's the logic there, guys? Hashtag AEW logic.
Right.
Hashtag AEW logic. Yeah, one of the Goth twins is going to get a shot at Chris Jericho and then get murdered.
Let me be clear. I'm excited AF to see this match between these two guys.
Dude. Yeah. Why do they get a title shot? They're going
to rip each other apart.
Don't care. Going to be a great match.
Yes.
Young Bucks, also great match. Young Bucks versus Private Party for the tag team title tournament. Chris Jericho and Sammy Guevara versus Dustin Rhodes and Hangman Page. And John Moxley versus Shawn Spears. I'm looking forward to that one, too. So AEW Wednesday looks like a sick show. And also Wednesday, NXT, not to be left in the dust, Kushida versus Walter and Drew Gulak versus Leo Rush for the Cruiserweight title. So NXT also has some nice matches. And then on SmackDown on Friday, of course, at the T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas, Canada. No, Las Vegas, Nevada, excuse me. The draft will be performed. This is what I want to talk about, Nick. The draft is going to be performed by, as I said on Raw, representatives from both Fox and the USA Network. Why that? So now the shows are going to be run by network executives, not by the McMahon family. Interesting. I'm wondering how they're going to present that. I'm wondering how they're going to sell that. That's just a weird decision in a wrestling company to have network executives choosing your superstars. It makes sense in some sense, like I'm sure Fox was saying, well, we want so-and-so, we want so-and-so behind the scenes. So maybe they translated that into storyline, but
the one that throws me is that they mentioned on commentary last night on Raw that it was going to start on Friday and finish on Raw the following Monday.
That makes sense. It makes more sense about the War Machine Rudolph match then, I guess.
So I don't know. I guess they wanted it to span two shows to give both shows equal coverage and treat Fox and USA fairly, I guess. I don't know.
Because they could have started the draft this Raw, but they didn't. And maybe that's because that's their way of saying, oh, yeah, Fox is giving us a lot more money than USA, so they get first pick. Yeah, it's a weird decision. I'm curious to see how they play that out because you don't exactly see, at the NFL draft.
How are they going to go back and forth?
From NBC. I don't know. This
is going to be very, very interesting. See how this plays out on Friday.
For everyone who left WWE because of Hell in a Cell, you're going to be missing out on the draft, for better or for worse.
No, they won't, because they'll have us to recap it the following day on Saturday, and we'll tell them everything that happened.
All right.
Well, Ian, that's thank you very much, guys, for tuning in for Raw. Oh, we're not done just yet. We've got just enough time for our other news lightning round. Beep, 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 beep.
Yes, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, if you've been watching the YouTube today, you know that the first episode of the new NWA Power is now on YouTube. It's free and it's awesome. It's awesome. It looks like early 1980s pro wrestling got time traveled into the modern era. It's old school. The promos are fire. The wrestling is good. We had Tim Storm beat Josephus for a title shot at Nick Aldis on the first show, which he got. He got that title shot. I won't tell you what happens in case you haven't seen it. It just came out. I will say the match was awesome. And it's only 1 hour. It's 1 hour and it's well worth a watch. So check out NWA Power. Very, very, very good stuff. And congratulations to Billy Corben. If this is what's going to look like going forward, you've got one more good wrestling show each week to check out right before you come listen to us.
Long time coming, too. I'll echo the congratulations to Billy Corgan. This been a long couple of years ride for him to really get this up and running. And the fact that they're giving it away for free on YouTube, we win. We are the winners of that whole thing.
Absolutely. And he's been such a slow build on this, letting it grow. The groundswell of this, it's fantastic. Great work. Very happy for them.
Yeah.
MLW also has been doing a bit of a groundswell with its company, and they just had MLW Fusion. Austin Aries defeated Brian Pillman Jr., and right afterwards, he called out Teddy Hart, who he's had a beef with for a while now, and they're finally going to have a nice big fight on Saturday night's Super Fight, which I believe is going to be next month. Also on the show this week, La Park and Hijo de La Park defeated Septimo Dragon and Magnus in a baller match. If you like MLW, go check them out. It was a pretty good show this week. We mentioned Big Show because he's no longer in the WWE. He's been replaced by Braun Strowman, who's filling his exact role. So the Big Show is now off doing a reality TV show. He's going to have his own TV show called Big Show versus the World. And it actually, you know what? It sounds really interesting. He says that in all his travels, he's been to a lot of really interesting places. He's going to go back and revisit them. And they're also going to show how hard it is to be a guy his size when you're traveling, when you're going around the place. So not only do you get an inside look at what it's like to live in a body that's 7'2" and 300-400 pounds now, he's lost some weight, but you also get to go and relive some of his adventures around the world. So it sounds like a really cool show.
Cool.
Looking forward to checking that out. Jeff Hardy. Jeffy boy. We mentioned last week, or on the last show, that he was arrested for driving while intoxicated. Apparently, when he was arrested, he had a bloody nose. And apparently the bloody nose was from a fight with his wife. Oh, Jeff. Someone get Jeff back on the road with the WWE. He does better when he's on the damn road. When he's left his own devices there in Carolina, bad things happen.
Yeah. They say he was arrested in Moore County. Moore County is basically a wasteland, except it contains Cameron, North Carolina, which is, if you know anything about the Hardys, that's where the Hardy compound is in Cameron, North Carolina, in Moore County, about an hour and a half south of where I'm at. So yeah, he's probably driving the back roads, swerving all over the place. I don't want to speculate on the bloody nose thing, but
Esmeralda just mentioned in the chat, and this is actually a good time to mention it, that WWE, it's actually been reported that they're going to be loosening the wellness policy. And as to what that means, we don't know. Vince says that due to the competitive nature of modern TV or something to that effect, he's loosening the wellness policy. Now, whether this means that you're now going to be able to take Ritalin, like what Roman Reigns got busted for, or smoke pot, we don't know. But I do know that if there's one person that needs to be under the old wellness policy, it's Jeff Hardy.
Yeah.
So I'm very curious to see how that plays out. If you see guys started coming out a little bit more shredded than they are right now, you might know in what way Vince means to loosen up the wellness policy.
Jackson Riker. I'm sorry.
I think Jackson Riker's been finding a way around it about as long as Jinder Mahal has.
Right.
So
I also want to have a conversation with Rusev's traps while I'm at it.
Rusev's traps are all natural, my friend. Give me a break.
Just doing shrugs all day. He must just sit there and just shrug all day.
I'll just put it this way: Rusev is like Becky Lynch, and Jackson Riker and Jinder Mahal are like Charlotte Flair's chest. All right, moving on. So Sasha Banks messed up her back in her Hell in a Cell match. Bray Wyatt apparently also got injured, although it's not serious. We don't know yet the seriousness of Sasha's injury. It has not been reported there. She's undergoing some tests before we find out how badly she's injured. Fingers crossed that she is okay.
Yep.
Alberto Del Rio is still fighting for relevance. He's got a match with Tito Ortiz in Hidalgo, Texas on December 7th for Combate Americas. All I have to say about this is Del Rio's still out there, and frankly, I hope he gets his butt kicked. It's Tito Ortiz. He beat up Chuck Liddell the last time he had a match. I have a feeling he's going to kill Del Rio, who has some shoot fighting experience, but he doesn't have a good record. So I'm curious what's going to happen there.
Yeah, I could care less, honestly.
Well, I'll still report on it.
Yep.
The Crash 8th anniversary show is happening November 1st in Tijuana. It's going to be a brothers versus brothers match.
Uh-oh.
We're going to get the Lucha Brothers, Pentagon Jr. and Phoenix, versus Rush and Dragon Lee, the Munoz brothers.
Whoa.
I should say this. In his promos for this, Rush said it'll be 2 members of the Munoz family. That means that Bestia del Ring, their father, could actually make an appearance or be involved somehow. So this is actually a pretty big deal when it comes to Mexican wrestling, especially seeing as all these guys are kind of like I think Lucha Brothers still have a good relationship with AAA, but now that Rush and Dragon Lee are out of CMLL, this could be a shots fired kind of moment. So
yeah,
I'm looking forward to checking this. And also, probably it's going to be an amazing match.
Speaking of superstar showcases, this match is going to be crazy.
Well, what's also crazy is frickin' Dragon Lee is supposed to be in New Japan doing the Super Junior Tag Tournament around this time. And he's got a history of, working a show and then flying somewhere else and working another show. Like, when he broke Hiromu Takahashi's neck, he'd done 2 shows in the previous 24 hours. So he's got a history of really working himself to the bone. So I hope he doesn't do that here.
Yeah.
Because that's dangerous, frankly, as I've seen
good.
in person. For some reason, Kevin Owens is in the alumni section of WWE.com. We don't know if this is a screw up or some sort of miscommunication, but have not heard any news aside from that. He's just on the alumni section. We haven't seen him since since he beat Shane on Friday. But yeah, he's in the alumni section. Just weird. Just thought I'd
somebody messed up.
I hope so. I hope that's the case. I hope that's all it is.
That could be as simple as checking the wrong box on the back end of the website, but normally that there's some QA processes that happen there.
Yeah.
Oh.
And then finally, in other news, this one's a bit personal for me. If you were watching Dolph Ziggler and Bobby Roode's match this week, you may have noticed that Dolph Ziggler was wearing some silver tights. Well, on the butt, there was a picture of a couple of devil-looking women on his butt, and those are by the fairly famous artist Coop. Well, apparently Coop did not give Dolph Ziggler the rights to use his imagery on his tights, and Coop's taken to Twitter calling Dolph a meathead and says he needs to never wear those tights again or pay Coop. And I say abso-freaking-lutely, because that's some BS. Dolph has a history of ripping off people's artwork and using it, and he's done it again.
Wow.
So that's some nonsense.
Talk about a show off.
Someone who shouldn't be shown up. As a matter of fact, hold on a second, making a quick move.
Uh-oh.
Right here, I happen to have my Coop coaster set, which I got from Coop himself.
Hey!
So, yeah, I'm a bit more on Coop's side with this. I have a bit of a horse in the race here.
Chat's already saying Kevin Owens to AEW. You heard it here first.
I love you guys.
I don't think so. I think Kevin knows where his bread's buttered at this point. We'll see.
Yeah, he's going back to PWG. And that's the news. That's the news, ladies and gentlemen.
Well, thank you, sir, Ian Dangerous, and thank you guys for hanging out with us for this Tuesday night show of Raw and the Wide World of Wrestling. We're here every single Tuesday at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 Pacific live on the YouTubes at youtube.com/bustedwideopen. Hey, leave us a like on this video. Leave us a comment below. Let us know what you guys think or weigh in on anything that we talked about during this show. Follow us over on Instagram and Twitter at BWO Podcast. And hey, come join us in the Busted Wide Open discussion group over on Facebook, where you'll find links to our Discord server, where it's all of our chats that go on throughout the course of the week for all the shows and any dedicated pay-per-views. All happens on Discord. You can find the description in the description below this video if you're watching on YouTube, or it's pinned to some of our social media if you're listening on the podcast. If you love this show and want to show us some support, the best way to do that is at Patreon. Patreon.com/BWO. Sign up for one of those awesome reward tiers. Get access to show notes, the ability to ask listener questions, monthly bonus episodes, all kinds of good stuff. Go up from there. Patreon.com/BWO. Shout out to Abraham Castillo again for the $10 in the tip jar tonight.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks for hanging around tonight for 2 shows, guys. Really appreciate it. My name is Nick Howell. You can find me on Twitter at DataCenterDude.
And I am Sir Ian Dangerous. You can find me on Twitter at Sir Ian Dangerous.
But by God, would somebody stop the damn match?
This show is part of the Orbital Jigsaw Network. For more episodes, subscribe to us on iTunes, Google Play, or Stitcher Radio. For details and show notes from each episode, check us out, orbitaljigsaw.com.
And we're out. Thank you very much, guys. 2 awesome shows for you tonight. We will get these up on the podcast apps as soon as possible, but thank you guys specifically.
And Esmeralda, I got to say, I looked over and you said you just got to whisper union and Vince will cut you loose. I read it as you got to whisper union and Vince will cut you, loser. And that's way better. That's right, pal. You want a union? I'll cut you. I'll cut you, you loser.
Oh, man. Thank you very much for hanging, guys. This was a blast.
Guys, you guys are awesome. Thank you so much. We will see you again soon.
Saturday.
And with so much more.
Yes.
Indeed.
Take
Thanks,
care, guys. Have a
wonderful
great
night.
week. We'll see you in the groups and on the Discord.
Oh, yeah.